Hi everyone, Materim here again with another narrative battle report, and this one has the Ogre Kingdoms facing off against the Demons of Chaos in a 2,500 point battle line scenario. Torga stepped back, intimidated by the sheer rage her father expressed. She knew that Tokron cared for her as his offspring, but she was unprepared for the fury that her defection had invoked in him. But in her mind, the voice of Kurgoth Plaguefather reminded Torga that she had chosen the path of power, and could not allow even her own father to stand in her way. Besides, the rest of the Whitetooth would be much easier to bring into Nurgle's service with Tokron gone. Torga extended her newfound magic, and drew allies from the warp as her father's forces rushed towards her. Watching his child call forth foul demons further fueled Tokron's rage. The demons had gone too far now. They had struck out against his family, and for that crime they would pay, and pay dearly. And so we see the very cluttered board where the forces of Tokron's Whitetooth will be facing off against his daughter and her summoned demonic forces. There is a lot of terrain here. We maxed out, and as you can see, there are buildings in the center of the thing. All three of the buildings there towards the center are normal. The brick wall on the right next to the first building is a blessed barricade. The other one is a I think a ghost fence. It didn't end up coming into play. Main problem we noticed is that it's going to be very difficult to maneuver around here. So we've pretty much got the one sort of clear area between the gray wall and that green figure there. And that green figure there is an idol of Mork. So we're going to get rerolls on charges. So it's I think the terrain will actually be playing a very big role in this game. And it was frankly more than either of us really expected to have happen. So, starting with the Demon's deployment, he has a unit of 10 pink horrors with full command, and they ended up rolling Infernal Gateway for their spell. So, luckily, he kind of placed them as a chaff drop early on to fake me out. So they're kind of behind that building and away from the majority of my forces, but they could still end up packing a wallop if they get that spell off too many times. Then up on the hill we have the corn cannon in prime firing position. Down in front of that is a unit of 5 Seekers of Slaanesh, and I think they have full command. And then a small unit of 6 Chaos Furies mark Slaanesh as well. And then you can see over next to the hill is Tokron, the Princess of Rot. She ended up getting 2 gifts. One was the 2+ armor save, and the other one he defaulted for the Plague Flail. Then he's got a unit of 3 Plague Drones with full command. Behind them is a unit of 20 Daemonettes with a Herald of Slaanesh in there. The Herald has the Always Strike First Locust, as well as I think the Ogre Blade was the default greater gift there. Then next to that is a unit of 20 Plague Bearers. There is a Herald of Nurgle in there as well. And he had a greater gift, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been the +1 wound, maybe. Next to that is a Chariot of Slaanesh. And over on the far side, making their first debut, are my Screamers of Slaanesh, a group of 3 of them. Oops, I'm sorry. Those Screamers are marked Tzeentch, obviously. We're not making any house rules on that. I'm not used to having Tzeentch forces on my table very often. And last but not least, in the back corner, he has 3 bases of Nurglings that he scouted around behind me. And to start my deployment, you can see up by the house, there at the top, I have 3 Man-Eaters with additional hand weapons, and they are Scouts and Swift Striders. Alright, so the Ogre army, the remainder of it at any rate, is pretty simple but different from what I'm used to. Starting on the left, I have 10 Noblars, full command with the Trappers upgrade. Then 4 Leadbelchers with a Bellower. With them is my level 4 Firebelly, or level 2 Firebelly, I'm sorry. With my Dispel Scroll. In the back is Chew, my giant. Then there are 4 ogre bulls with iron fists, 4 more lead belchers with a bellower, and 10 more noblars with trapper upgrade. In the back is 9 iron guts. They have Tokron with them, who has the greedy fist, other trickster shard, and the armor of silvered steel. There is Chog there as well, level 4 Lore of the Maw, and he has the feedback scroll. And with them is also Gat the Old, my battle standard bearer. He has the Dragon's Hide banner and the Death Cheater big name. And since my opponent did not vanguard his Seekers, he was able to take advantage of getting the first turn and charged into my Man-Eaters. Unfortunately, part of that unit went over the fence when he charged, and he ended up losing one of the Seekers to dangerous terrain before he got in on me. And pretty much on this side, my opponent comes up pretty aggressively. Definitely wants to get those Furies in the way to kind of block some stuff up. And we both want to see what the Screamers can do, because we've never played them before, so they're coming up hard on that side. I think the one thing he probably made a mistake here is he's trying to choke a little bit too much in that center area. Probably could have gone around the other side of the swamp and spread himself out a little bit more, particularly since he has me beat in number of units. But it's still pretty scary coming right down at me like that. And over on this side, you see he's moving the pink horrors up a little bit. He wants to eventually get them into that building. He just couldn't quite make it turn 1. And the corn cannon doesn't move because it's up on a hill and doesn't really need to. And here, oh, I meant to show this earlier. The Nurgling bases failed to charge against the Noblars. It was pretty a long charge they needed to make, but they didn't get it, so I think they moved up 4 or 5 inches. So my opponent decided not to risk anything on magic turn 1 because he had nothing he really wanted to do in range. So we go into shooting, and the corn cannon managed to peg a cannonball right in the head of one of my lead belchers and kill him. Luckily, the remaining lead belchers managed to not panic on the reroll that they got. That's one of the worries about this is leadership problems, but I'm glad they held at that moment. Over here, he ended up with the Seekers going first. They managed to do some good damage and kill my Skaven-looking Man-Eater. However, the Champion and the other Man-Eater just destroyed them. And I reformed this way, and it's a little bit cheesy that I did this, but because there was only 2 left, my center was right on the line. So if I reform this way, it actually gets me about an inch closer to the corn cannon. Which you can see me then, even with that inch, failing the charge on my next turn. So I staggered forward like 3 inches, and now I'm in a conga line facing a cannon that could put a bullet through both of those guys and totally remove them. So, way to go, Ogres. Tactics fail. So, realizing that he's kind of putting all his eggs in one basket going one way, I decided to go hard up the center. I moved the Noblars, marched them up. They just need to get into something's way. I don't know how much good they're going to do here. I'm going to run the Giant over to the building because I'm pretty sure the pink horrors are going there. And I think the Giant can handle them pretty casually. What I don't want those pink horrors doing is sitting in that building and 6-dicing Infernal Gateway all game. So I got to send something over there to stop them, and Chew is as good as anything else. In the center, I managed to get the lead belchers and the firebelly into that building, which is fantastic. And everything else kind of moves up slowly. I don't really want to overcommit because I don't want to be on the receiving end of all of that nasty he's got over there, particularly on his turn, where he'll have the opportunity to use those Nurgle buffs and debuffs, which I think the Ogres are very susceptible to the debuffs there. So I'm kind of going slow. So here's just what the right side looks like. I'm throwing the Noblars up there because I really don't care about them. One of my problems here, though, and it's a common problem, is that I'm too afraid of the freaking forest. And so I'm kind of blocking everything in here, which actually gives his Screamers a great opportunity to get through one of my units and move into the forest and hide. So that was kind of a dumb moment there. And during my magic phase, I managed to get Fulminating Flame Cage off on the bugs, and I was really just doing that to get the plus to cast Fireball. I did 1 wound on them, but then I failed to cast the increased version of Fireball. So no bueno there, as Whoopie Womp would say. And then in shooting, the 3-man unit of lead belchers end up taking out one of the 3 screamers, which I thought was pretty awesome. And then the 4 lead belchers in the building show how terrible they are and only kill 3 of the Chaos Furies. And it's just, I rolled like absolute garbage. 4d6, I think I got 8 shots off. It was pretty terrible. So we start off Demon turn 2 with the second consecutive failed charge by the Nurglings. They tried to get into the flank of Chew, and I'm glad they didn't do that, because I needed to get him over where he can do some damage, and being held up by Nurglings is not part of that plan. So they end up moving up another 4 or 5 inches, but no big deal. However, the rest of his charges are considerably more effective. He ends up realizing that those Furies are probably going to die, so he wants to at least cause some damage with them. So he hurls them over top of the wall at the Ogre Bulls, and then chucks the Slaanesh Chariot at the Lead Belchers. He's pretty much hoping that he can just get those kills in with the impact hits. Because I think the Lead Belchers can probably handle this Chariot. At least I'm not super afraid of it. Then over on this side, the Screamers work their way over the Noblars, killing 1. Because my opponent can't roll for crap either right now. And he lands in the Forest. The Forest ends up being the one where at the end of the movement phase, it tries to whack you for X number of hits. I think it's a D6 strength 4. And over here, the Pink Horrors make it in the building. No big surprise there. And here, pretty much everything comes up aggressively except for Torga. He moves her behind the 2 units, so she's in prime buffing position without being overly threatened by much of anything. And then at the end of the movement phase, the Forest decides to do me a solid and drop a couple of trees on the other Screamers. So there's only one of those guys left now. So I managed to hold off magic for 1 more turn, and his shooting, I think he tried to grape shot the man-eaters and didn't do much to them. So we go into combat, and here the Furies just absolutely flub. They do no wounds to the Ogres. The Ogres end up just beating the tar out of them. And I end up reforming them like this so that I can get in on that Chariot if the Lead Belchers can't get the job done. And the Chariot tries. It kills one of the Lead Belchers in impact hits. I hit back, do 2 wounds, so it beats me by 2. But I managed to end up sticking, and I reformed just a little bit to slide to the side to give plenty of room for those other Ogres to get in on my next turn. And speaking of my next turn, the Man-Eaters finally decide they want to show up for work and charge up the hill and get a hold of the Skull Cannon. And here, the Ogres come screaming in, slam into the flank of the Chariot. I know this exposes my flank to the bugs, but I really think we can destroy this Chariot and get the opportunity for the reform this turn. At least we better, or those Ogres are screwed. So during magic, I end up getting the +1 toughness buff off on the Ogres that just charged into the Chariot, and a fireball into the Demonettes that did a single wound. The Lead Belchers, the 4-man unit of Lead Belchers there, opened fire on the bugs and managed to inflict 1 wound. I'm just rolling for crap. I don't know what it is, because this is 2 more Lead Belchers than I normally bring. Just split up into 2 groups. I'm not rolling the shots. I think I definitely prefer the 1 unit of 6 to the 2 of 4, even though that doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. So during combat, the Man-Eaters get the job done. They kill the Corn Cannon and only take 1 wound for their trouble. So that was pretty awesome. And in here, we end up obviously destroying the Chariot, they end up doing one more wound to one of the lead belchers, so then after we kill it, I reform and I spread 4 wide here to block the bugs, because I don't want him getting to the lead belchers. Those are points that I would much rather him not be able to catch, and there's not enough room for them to land between the 2 units, so I'm pretty happy with that. And there's also, although you can't see it in this picture, there's not enough room for them to land in front of the iron guts because the lead belchers are there. So they're kind of all protecting each other from that bug charge. So we go into Demon turn 3, and he manages to basically thread the needle there, kind of going over with one unit, or one rank, the thread, or the swamp. So between dangerous trains from that, dangerous trains from the trapper, and stand and shoot, though, the plague bearers lose a single guy. The only plus side of this is that we ruled that the altar of Mork there is impassable. So he's going to have a hard time, like he can't overrun to get further past. He's going to have a tricky time reforming if he does kill them. So I'm kind of okay with that. I don't think he'll be coming at me immediately, but I definitely need to get my big guns into a position to be able to counter these guys, because really this is the unit I'm most afraid of in pretty much in the entire army. Plague Bearers, I think, are the equal to normal ogres, and they do have the regeneration foci from their herald, and really all I have, I think I have a flame banner, but I think it's on the man-eaters, so they're way away from being able to actually use that. And then over here he manages to get both the bugs and the daemonettes into this unit. Daemonettes are missing some dudes. I don't remember why that was. Maybe a fireball. I don't quite recall. But either case, they're both in here, so this, yeah, could be ugly. The only benefit is that with the wall up, I do get the -1 to be hit, so I'm a little bit more on even footing. And he marches up the Nurglings and ends up running the Screamer over my Iron Gut unit, and I think he actually kills one of the Iron Guts with the Screamer attacks, so that was very not good. So during magic, Torga gets miasma off on the bugs, so those ogres are like initiative 1, weapon skill 1. Definitely not good. So we go into close combat. Obviously the plague bearers put a hurtin', even the few that are touching them, because he's got his character there, put a hurtin' on the Noblars. The Noblars end up breaking, the plague bearers give chase, run them down, but they bounce off the impassable terrain and stop where you see them. So, in combat over here, it is the +1 toughness that is keeping my ogres alive. I end up killing one of the Daemonettes back, but managed to put the final wound on one of the bugs too. And because of the way I took it from, the Daemonettes essentially dropped out of combat. So I was essentially stubborn, because I have 3 ogres, and he only has 2 bugs, and they stuck. So that was... well, let's be honest, that was way luckier than those ogres had any right to be. Downside now is it does free up the Daemonettes, and with the way it frees them up, it's going to be his turn. Or no, it's my turn next. Yeah, it's my turn next, but he's going to be able to get in, essentially through them into their flank. It's going to be messy, because I'm not in a position to capitalize on where things are right now. So we go into bottom of turn 3, and Chew the Giant decides to go mix it up with some pink horrors in a building. Woohoo, go Chew! He's going to turn them into bubble gum. I have such an inordinate love for my Giant. It's fun to actually see him not get shot off the board turn 1. So as far as the rest of the army goes, I start bringing in the man-eaters. I don't want to engage the Daemonettes because I want the opportunity to shoot them. and I swift reform and move the lead belchers, the remaining two, to go after this screamer and the nurglings. And basically, I leave the iron gut unit there to be able to counterattack once those 3 ogres get killed, which is what I'm expecting to happen. Lead belchers show the Devil Ray who is boss and blow him to Kingdom Come. I really love how those came out. The screamers. Like I feel like I did a really good job painting those. I was almost ashamed to shoot them all to death, but an ogre's got to do what an ogre's got to do. And I forgot to say it during Magic. My Magic, or his last Magic phase, was kind of terrible. But the big thing that did do it is Khorne dropped a flame, or Tzeentch dropped a flaming fireball on the building with the lead belchers in there, and not only did the lead belchers take a wound, but my fire belly, who has a 4-up freaking save against fire, took 1 wound too. But I decided to give it back to them. I end up laying a flame template from the breath weapon out of the building and burned off the back rank of demonettes, which was pretty awesome. So we go into combat, and Chew got, I think it was swipe with club. He did supposed to do D6, strength 6 hits. Ended up flubbing, did 2 wounds, I think it was, 2 or 3, and then only did 1 with the Thunder Stomp. But the pink horrors blowing up into blue horrors managed to inflict, I believe, 2 wounds back. The pink horrors hold, and the giant gets pushed out. So over here, the fight, even with my buff gone, went really well, because I think the bugs just fluffed. He ends up only getting 2 wounds through, so I didn't do anything back, but I'm still stubborn and holding. So that's pretty good in my eyes. So Demon turn 4, the Nurglings fail 3rd charge of the game against the Lead Belchers here and only move up an inch or 2. The Plague Bearers end up failing a charge against the Iron Guts and end up just kind of turning like that. But you can see on the side the Daemonettes succeeded their charge and swing in against the flank of those 3 ogres. And here just shows again the charge of the Daemonettes into the flank of the ogres and how we had to go about propping the Daemonettes up because they're not magnetized and we couldn't let them slide all over the place. And you see Torga here comes over to hide behind the impassable terrain and the unit of Plague Bearers. So she manages to get the Plague of Miasma, or whatever it is, on the bugs again. So again, I'm sitting at like Weapon Skill 1, Initiative 1. But these Ogre Bulls just do not know how to die. They end up killing 2 Daemonettes, taking a wound themselves, and everybody ends up sticking, thanks to the reroll and General's leadership that I have right behind them. So finally, Ogre turn 4, it is time for the Tyrannical Guard to move. We charge forward. Oh, the other spell he got off, because I just have not been able to stop him, was the -1 toughness, or -2 toughness on the ogres. So the ogre's toughness, or the Iron Guts toughness right now, is terrible. But I did manage to use the feedback scroll on that, so Torga has actually taken 2 wounds that I got through from the feedback scrolls. So that was pretty awesome. But this is potentially dangerous here. I've got to kill a lot of these Plague Bearers, and hope that on this magic phase I can get some buffs to at least get my toughness up a little bit. And over on the other side of the world, Chew goes back to play house with the Bubblegum Kids. And the Man-Eaters, I don't remember if I failed a charge or I just moved up because I didn't want to risk one, but either case, they're not quite into the action yet. And I decided to bring the Noblars up here, because if nothing else, well, I guess nothing's going to break. I don't know. I just figured I'd get them up here because Noblars always help me win. They're kind of a good luck charm, so I'm going to get them close to this fight as well. The one thing I didn't really do, and I should have, is I probably should have pulled the Lead Belchers out of the building sooner than I really did. So I had a Gangbusters magic phase and managed to get not only the +1 toughness buff off on the Iron Guts, but I also got Troll Guts off on them as well. So both units mine and the Plague Bearers have regen going into this. Nobody's got flaming attacks, so should be interesting to see where it goes. Then in shooting, all of the lead belchers turn around and try and shoot the Nurglings, and between 6 lead belchers, we did 3 wounds. Just pathetic. Just pathetic. So over here, the Bubblegum Kids are down to 2, but with all the ones I killed, one of the blue horror attacks from them dying gets off, so Chew has suffered another wound. So over here, against the Plague Bearers, my Iron Guts came through like crazy. Tok'ran challenged, his champion accepted. Tok'ran killed the champion with 2 or 3 overkill, and then the Iron Guts just went to town. Impact hits were pretty solid, and they just were chopping them up. My opponent didn't really do great on his regen saves, so after he rolled the crumble, the demonic instability test, he's just got his character, the musician, and the standard left. So I reformed over here to put the characters in the back, because I know those ogres are probably going to die soon, and they'll be over there to receive the charge from the Daemonettes, since they were out of the combat already, having no one up against them. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. And as predicted, and frankly right on time, the ogres get killed. They end up inflicting, I think, 1 more wound on the Daemonettes and maybe 1 more on the bug unit, but they reform to stare at the side of my Iron Gut unit, as you see here. And Demon turn 5, bugs and Daemonettes come slamming into the flank of the Iron Guts, and yeah, it's about time. Luckily, miasma will go down, or the plague miasma, whatever it is that lowers weapon skill and initiative, will go down this turn, and I'm just hoping I can prevent him from getting that or the toughness debuff back up. Over here, the freaking Nurglings finally managed to succeed their 3-inch charge, or whatever they had to do, and they come slamming into the front of the lead belchers. Okay, and during magic, he ends up getting the debuff on the weapon skill and initiative off again, but he manages to fail getting or I stop him from getting the toughness debuff, so that's pretty good. Over here, though, the Nurglings, I managed to inflict the 1 wound necessary on them, but then the Nurglings broke the lead belchers and ran them down, so that's where they end up there. So we go into the combat here. Even with the debuffs, I managed to take out the last 2 Plague Bearers, so he's only got that character left, and Tok'ran just went to town on the Daemonettes, killed the whole back rank of them, including their, it was a challenge. The Daemonette character, the Herald, accepted. Tok'ran killed her, and the demonic instability test finished off the back rank. Because I did win this one just by the amount of wounds I did there. They do kill 1 ogre, and a wound carries over, but they didn't do great. So we're winning, but it's a grind, and we don't have too much longer to go. So Ogre turn 5, the giant Chew goes back in the building to finish the job that he started, because he is nothing if not thorough. And over here, the Man-Eaters charge the back of the bugs. I bring the lead belchers out of the building, and that's pretty much it for movement. So magic got held down to basically nothing. Chew ends up finishing off the last of the pink horrors, and turns around to watch the fight going on in the middle of the table, because there's no way he'll be able to get there in time to help. And in combat, everyone who is not an ogre, get out of the pool. I declare a challenge with Chog, and he accepts with his Herald not remembering, or Herald of Nurgle not remembering that Chog is immune to poison. So they bounce off each other, which allows the rest of the ogres to just wipe out the Daemonettes and the impact hits from the man-eaters do enough damage to the bugs that even with losing that one man-eater and taking 2 wounds on the other, it was enough for them to pop from demonic instability. So the only thing there right now is the Herald of Slaanesh, or Herald of Nurgle, I'm sorry. And so I reformed to get Tok'ran up front because it's pretty obvious that Torga's going to come in on his next turn, and I want something cinematic, damn it. So, top of Demon turn 6. Torga comes slamming into the front to face her father, and the Nurglings come slamming into the back to hopefully kill off a few more ogres and help with combat res. So, we were going to do a challenge between Torga and Tok'ran, but we forgot that Chog and the other character was already in a challenge, so we had to let that go. Torga comes in and just beats the hell out of Tok'ran, inflicts 4 of the 5 wounds on him. Torga gets hit back for 1, so now by the end of this, because you remember she had 2 wounds from the feedback scroll, so they're each at 1 wound left. Chog and the other character bounce off each other. My ogres end up just destroying his Nurglings. And then, when the Iron Guts got to attack, I managed to sneak 1 more wound in on Torga with all of the Iron Guts attacks, so Torga goes down. And then he rolled exactly what he needed to not have his Herald pop from demonic instability. So we go into my turn 6. And my turn 6 was very simple. The Man-Eater Captain charges into the flank of the character purely for combat res, and Chog finally manages to get the job done and shuts him down. And this is our final shot of the table with the Whitetooth standing triumphant, having tabled the demonic forces of Torga, the rebellious daughter of Rot. Tok'ran looked down at the unconscious form of his daughter. He could barely see his child beneath the corruptions of Nurgle that marred her skin. He reached down and picked her up by the throat with his gauntleted hand. The tyrannical guard looked on, waiting for the crack that would signal that their tyrant had ended yet another threat to the Whitetooth. But it never came. Instead, Tok'ran drew upon the power of the greedy fist to draw from his daughter the last of the magics of Nurgle. He growled softly when the sapping of magic from his daughter made no change in her physical appearance. "It did not work, Slaughtermaster," he said, looking to Chog. "As I said, my tyrant, your plan was risky. The greedy fist can draw out magic, but obviously your daughter's corruption goes deeper than that. The Maw has no power over such corruption. It would be best to slay her." "No! My daughter will be cleansed. If you are unable to do so, I will turn to those that can. Return to the camp. Tell the tribe to prepare to leave." "Where do we go, great face crusher?" the Slaughtermaster asked. "We go to the Bretonnians' mountain camp. We shall see if the magic of Lady Aveline can be persuaded to purify my daughter," said Tok'ran as he knelt to bind Torga with stout chains for the trip. "My tyrant," Chog began, "the Bretonnians owe us no fealty. There will certainly be price for their aid." "Then we will pay it, Chog," Tok'ran said, giving the Slaughtermaster a look that could melt iron. "I will have my daughter back, no matter the cost." So, great victory for the Ogre Kingdoms. It did come down a lot closer than I expected. It really came down to a couple of crucial magic phases going my way as opposed to my opponents. And it was... I mean, the fact that, particularly with the Plague Flail, I managed to get lucky, succeed the toughness check, so I didn't take any additional wounds. It was lucky that she didn't take out Tok'ran, so I was very, very pleased with how this went. And I didn't tell the guys beforehand because I didn't want to put any additional pressure on them. But I had decided that if the Demons won this one, that Torga would have killed Tok'ran. So it definitely would have changed the Whitetooth quite a bit for him to die. So I'm actually very happy that it didn't happen. But definitely, it's going to bring some interesting change to the narrative, as now the Whitetooth are going to have to turn to other allies to try and purify Torga. And on top of that, the question is, will the Demons sit back and let that happen? Or, for that matter, will Torga herself sit back and let that happen? So there's a lot of interesting story to go through here, and I'm very, very happy that it's keeping going. So, all in all, it was a fun game. My opponent did very well for having never played Demons before. All in all, it was great. We had a good time. It was kind of a shame we didn't get to see more of what the Screamers can do, but they at least look really awesome, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, great. I thought it was a great game. We had a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, anything of that nature, please put them in the comments below. I do make an effort to get down to respond to all of them. If you like the video and you haven't already, please subscribe. I love seeing new folks on the channel. Please like the video, because getting those little thumbs up is pretty awesome too. So, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in for my 70th battle report, which is pretty awesome. I'm kind of surprised we got this far, actually. 70 battle reports, over 500 subscribers. I'm glad you guys are sticking with us through this wild and bumpy ride, and seems like you're enjoying it as much as we are. So, awesome. We are going to take a little break from the Ogre story for a little while, as some of the other guys want to get their army narratives moving in the end times. So we got some other games planned for this coming week, so definitely stay tuned. And again, if you haven't already, check us out Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do narrations and lamentations with Materim and the boys. It's kind of a nice, fun little chat show. We're going to be working through some of the different army books and kind of discussing fluff and mechanics and just our thoughts on those over the next few weeks. So definitely come check us out. So thanks for watching, guys, and we will catch you next time.